Ah, you're finally here. Sorry for the long wait, I had to deal with some medical stuff. Anyway, you're here to learn more about the ancient past of gaming, are you? Whoa, hold your horses, We will get to the excavation soon. Let me show you something inside, shall we? Where is it? Oh man, I know I had it here somewhere. Alright, here it is. This right here, my friend, has a history to it, and a very complicated and also very interesting story behind it. A story of how people sometimes have too much time on their hands. Also a lot of fun time, let's just say. It's June 11th, 2020. PlayStation would have an event called Future of Gaming. This would be a showcase launch event, full to the brim with trailers and upcoming games being shown off for Sony's brand new console, the PlayStation 5. The Future of Gaming event would show developers using brand new spanking new technology and show the power of the PlayStation 5. To, in their own words, to see what's in store for the next generation of games. Man, it's as if they're saying you could buy it on day one. In this, they would reveal trailers for upcoming games and also the console's special features. However, there would be one revealed trailer that would get a lot of gamers and the internet's attention. This would start a spiral of events full of drama that would cause some users from a certain site to create something their own. By some would call stolen valor. This would be a response to the game shown that day at the Future of Gaming event by simply making a game. A game some would call better than the original one, and some have called it the anti-fan game. This game would start the strangest development for a game I have ever seen, and that game would be called Snoot Game.
You ever feel like you're just waiting for a sign? To do that thing you've always meant to do. Sometimes I feel like I'm just standing on the edge of doing great things.
Before all the my life as a teenage dinosaur shenanigans, we have to start with a simple indie gaming studio and developers that had some big dreams. The year is 2012. The world was ending. Obama was president, and in Montreal, Canada, a new gaming studio was made named Co-op. Founded by Salim Dabas and Drinson Zigub. I'm surprised that's a real name. These two would be Co-op's founders. Their main goal for the company was to be run by artists and everyone at the company making the same salary. When we founded the studio, we really didn't know about the co-op model. Nothing that the co-op name was originally meant to reflect the spirit of the collaboration rather than a business structure. It wasn't until a year or two in that a couple of friends of ours said, with the way we're running things and talking about things, had we considered being a co-op? So we looked into it and we're like, hey, this is exactly what we believe in. Let's do that. Very lofty goals, as you can see. They would make some games, but most of them didn't even get up off the ground. So they became a work-for-hire studio, doing stuff for other studios like Cartoon Network. Then later on, they finally made some games in-house, and they even won some awards. Things were looking pretty good for this little indie studio. Now I know some of you out there might be asking, where is the Scalie game? I clicked on this thumbnail, and yet you're talking about this. Hold on, we're getting there. Speaking of that, we're at that point where I can finally talk about a game that some would say had some humble beginnings. Not to mention, a developer at Co-op who would have a great idea for a new game for the studio. Starting out as a silly dating sim called Jurassic High, with 3 different love interests for the game, knowing that this feels more like a careful what you wish for type of scenario. Then development for the game started to roll after a few years, and then the game slowly started to change. It was evolving, getting rid of all the dating sim parts and having one of the characters being the main character of the story, and who is also very important for this story. But I don't want to get ahead of myself here. The other characters being reduced to being just side characters, or just being scrapped from the game entirely. Things would change even more for the game, the writing for the story being more serious in tone, but also starting with the working title called Project Fair. Then, a knock at the studio's door. It's the Canadian government, and they love what they see. So they decide to give Co-op a small portion of 1.2 million Canadian dollars. This would be for the Canada Media Fund, or CMF for short. But you might be asking, what is this organization and why did they give Co-op this much money? Well, this organization is created by the Canadian government to help fund original Canadian media. In short terms, this game was funded by the Canadian government and is peak Canadian culture. Things were looking great for the studio and the game as a whole, but there was another knock at the door. Who could it be this time? Well, would you look at that? It's PlayStation, and they're here to help as well. They would make a deal that would not just help the game, but also put the studio into the spotlight. Hey kid, we like the cut of your jib. We like your style. We have this special event coming up, our new PlayStation 5, and we want your game on it. What do you say? It's June 11th of 2022.
Oh, wow!
Today's the day. PlayStation's Future of Gaming show for the new PlayStation 5 is here, and everyone in the gaming community was excited. There was, of course, excitement about their game being shown at the event. This was a really big deal. But how would people react to it? And more importantly, how would the gamers react to it?
And then, Nintendo!
Well, the stage was set, the show had started, and their game was now ready to be shown. And it was the biggest disaster I have ever seen.
Furries?
You ever feel like you're just waiting for a sign?
Is that fish anchovies? The fuck? Are you
To
human?
do that thing you've always meant to do.
Is this Life is Strange cartoon
Sometimes I
version?
feel like I'm just standing on the edge of doing great things.
Volcano High!
Something that is what I imagine.
Dinosaurs evolved
I'm
into
still just
bipedals. The
standing
meteor
on
never hit.
Deviant Art Simulator?
To lose.
Oh, yeah, the art.
Might as well.
The music's so fucking cliche. We know which crowd they dedicated this game to. The teenage white girls who's going through it in high school right now.
End the trailer here and don't explain anything, please. Goodbye.
Volcano High. What a fucking name for high school, Volcano High. 2021, so it's next year too.
Wow, that's a coming of age tale for the ages, I guess.
Okay, I think some of you might be wondering what happened. Things were looking so well, and why were so many people turned off by the trailer? Well, you see, it's PlayStation's fault. Yes, the ace in the hole that Co-op got was really a miss into gator-infested waters. PlayStation threw co-op to the wolves. That was the dreaded gamer. You see, the future of gaming was big, like really big. We all know this, but here's the thing. People all over the world were looking forward to some big games being shown and announced. To keep things simple, people wanted this, but PlayStation showed them, well, this. Boo! A lot of people were not happy and felt like their time was being wasted. If you have ever looked at any live chats during gaming events, they're pretty much a war zone. And trust me, it was a war zone. People saying ew, furry stuff, saying for it to end, but there was something even worse than all of that. The dreaded L.
Everybody in chat say L! Nobody cares!
People were making fun of the game. Some were interested, but most were, like I said, not happy with it, saying all of it was generic and a ripoff of Life is Strange, but with gay dinosaurs. Then there would be more stuff that would happen after the event, with one of the main writers for the game. After the reveal trailer, it would be found out that the writer, Kate Gray, used to do freelance work for Kotaku. People will find a very specific article by Kate Gray, and the article, let's just say, had some not safe for work. Seems fine. What even is the problem here? People will find out a lot of things, and one of them would be about Harry Potter. This would have high detail that Kate Gray and a friend would watch. Let's just say a bit too much to watch. The characters in the video were underage, and there were more from other franchises with full videos in the article as well. Also, those other characters were also underage, and you see where this is going and the problem here. Kate would address this in a thread on Twitter saying, "The article, the pictures, and the uncritical opinion on it were all grave mistakes. And I regret a lot of things about that article, but the fact that it hurt people is my greatest regret of all." Then, Kate Gray was fired from Co-op, even though Kotaku allowed it on their site and it's still up to this very day. With the off-ending stuff gone, at least, thank goodness. After Kate Gray was fired from Co-op, they had to entirely rewrite the game's story from top to bottom, so the game got delayed to 2022. They would get help with a certain group of people to help them with the rewriting for the game, but I will talk about them later. This was a sight to behold. The game was just revealed, and it was basically already on fire. This would get people's attention, a lot of people's attention, but also getting the attention to a group of people that I have already talked about before. Ah, 4chan. Some have called this site the boogeyman of the internet, that is full of people who are not very nice, some would say. People who harass other people, making fun of them, and telling people to kill themselves. Some have called it a free speech haven, or a place where people can make things with true creative freedom, where users can do whatever they want, no matter what. In reality, it's all those things, but mostly it's people talking about video games, anime, and a lot of gooning. But let's get back on track here. With Goodbye Volcano High's controversy, it got some of the users on 4chan's attention. Users from the forums would be talking about it, specifically on the V boards, or the video game boards. I have talked about them before, but it's very simple to understand. They just talk about video games. Unfiltered, might I add. Again, as this controversy was going on, some people on the boards were posting memes and edgy stuff that I really can't show on here. But strange things were happening. This was a thread pinned that had an image of the character Fang with the words, "I'm so fucked up." This post right here is the genesis to memes and other things that are a big part of this story. Other than that, it was mostly people saying how much they thought the characters were very, very hot, and users drawing fetish art of Fang and the other characters.
She's got a diaper.
Ugh, man. Let's just say that this is all I'll say about that. But this is also very important. I'm serious. There will be post after post on V's boards that started talking about the main character from the game known as Fang. The strangest thing is, people who did not like Fang were starting to like them and the other characters. Users started to notice, and some were very annoyed with all of these posts. Knowing that this is 4chan, and since this involved something with furries, they posted this. All of these angry users on the V board were getting out of control. They were even banned by the mods named Jannies. And yes, I didn't know 4chan had any, but they do. As all this was going on, people would be posting a lot of stuff. But keep in mind, these posts would be very important because they would be referenced or be part of major plot points to the game that someone was making. On June 17th, there would be more stuff happening on the boards on 4chan. People asking what did they want to see out of GVH, and even hoping for it to be good or not being generic. But there was another person asking for help to make a game of their very own. There will be a job post on 4chan looking for people who can make sprites. Also, graphics describing scenes to be made. One for each ending, with some of them being references to posts about the game. There were also another post on how they needed a person who had experience with visual novel engines. There was also this. We will get to that part, don't worry. All of this was for a game that a user was making, and there would be more to come. Which is funny because that was also what some of the other users on V were doing in their pants. There will also be more memes and random shitposts that would be made about this fan game. As they were slowly getting more support, they would ask for more help for the game. This would be for their very own Discord server, so people can work closer to the game. As all of this was coming together, this would be the beginning of a new studio, and that new studio would be known as Cavemanon. As of June 19th, development of this game would officially begin and have massive ramifications on Goodbye Volcano High and co-op as a whole. As all of this was going on, Cavemanon wanted to make this parody game a bit more serious, specifically in the writing department. As the original script was being made, it was originally using a fanfic that was added onto, but with Cavemanon rewriting it. However, they would keep the core of it as it was, until the script was shown on another part of 4chan called Lit, or Literature. This is a place where most 4chaners would post fanfiction, and others to have their stories be given advice or feedback from their own stories. This is a very artsy place where people will tell you that you should die in a very, very fancy way. This would be done by one of the writers for the game, and it was done for criticism. But there would be one post that would change the game forever, and this post has some very interesting stuff in it. Again, this post right here is the key to this game being from a parody to something that some would call the best thing ever written. By the developers who worked on the game, in their own words, would claim that this post saved this project from being a poorly written shitpost garbage to a game with genuine story that some would call better than the original story that they were parodying. After that, some time would pass. There would be a shitpost here and there. Then some other events would happen, like Goodbye Volcano High's script got leaked online. Also, Goodbye Volcano High would get delayed once again, and the studio can't catch a break. Other than that, everything was surprisingly quiet. Then, someone would claim that they leaked an image for Goodbye Volcano High. But little did the users of 4chan know, at that time, this was not a leak, but a tease to what was to come. There would be more of these teasers here and there showing images of what some people thought to be the real GVH leaks. The team working on the game were doing a little trolling. Then it was time for the big event. It's June 4th. Some of the users on V were not ready for what was to happen. There will be more teasers, some of them were very random like this. I don't know why they chose that, but okay. Until finally, the game would be announced, and this game would be called Snoot Game.
Diamonds twinkle brightly, dance in darkness, blow the nights off. Sleepy child, spark desire, walk the fire.
This was not Cavemon's first game they have ever made. That would be considered a test run on what the team can do. This did get some people's attention, however people were waiting for the full release of Snoot Game. The full official release of the game would be ready to be fully downloaded on the Snoot Game website. So some people played it, and their reaction to it was very interesting. They all loved it. Cavemanon has succeeded with their goal of making a game that people love, and it came out before the official release of Goodbye Volcano High. Some would even claim and say that it was a better version of the characters and the story than the leaked script of GVH. Not just that, this game was going to be officially on Steam. This parody game was officially going to be in the gaming holy land of Steam. To many on the V board, this was a time for celebration, and people on V were talking about it non-stop, until it reached its limit for the site, and the mods came in from the thread and shut it down. It was a madhouse. After the mods got involved, all of the dedication for the game had to be moved somewhere else. Called /trash, it was full of users praising the game. Also them drawing a lot of this. Then on June 10th, V would have their own award show called the V3 Award Show, or V3 Expo. This was an official 4chan event, after everything got cancelled during the incident. This was an award show where 4chaners would give out awards to games that they liked. A show for and by 4chaners. The team would submit the game to the V3 Expo, and the game would win some awards. The game got awards like the best of show, and the most soulful, and most going to make it. There's a full video on YouTube of the award show as well.
Now, before I leave, we have a very special segment with a very special group of Anons. Jennies, please, hold your auto staging back. You'll want to see this one. Welcome to the second interview of the show. I'm here with the devs of Snoot Game, the prehistoric high school drama that follows the new student Anon as he struggles with his own personal issues, as well as the issues of the rebellious pterodactyl Fang and the other colorful cast of crazy dinosaur teens. Boy, could you imagine living with dinosaurs? I'll tell ya, I would not do well there.
Don't ask me what's happening, I still have no idea. People were liking the game, it won some awards, and it was going to be on Steam, of all places. Nothing can ruin this wondrous moment. Hello? Oh. No. They did not. Okay, Okay, bye. So, Co-op was not happy. So as you can tell, Co-op found out about this fan game and they were not very happy about it. I mean, think about it with me for a bit, will you? You're a game developer, making a game that some have considered it a laughingstock when it was revealed. Then there's this fan game that came out of nowhere that came from 4chan. Not only that, some people claim that it's better than yours. But the saddest thing about all of this is the game's not even out yet. I can only imagine what the people developing Goodbye Volcano High were probably thinking. But something mysteriously would happen. At this point in time, the game would also have an itch.io page. This page would have the game so that more people can play it. But then the game would be taken down by a DMCA. But who was it? Who ordered the takedown? People have speculated that it was Co-op. However, there is no evidence to suggest that it was Co-op. So far as I know, it was done by an anonymous user who took down the itch.io page. It could have been anyone. It could have been a fan of GVH. All 10 of them. Who was not happy about Snoot Game, and it could have just been good old-fashioned trolling. Or a little crackpot theory that it could have been the people from Cavemanon themselves. A bit of a stretch, but still, there is no way to know for sure. But things would go from bad to worse for Cavemanon Studios. The Steam version that was not even out yet would be taken down. But something even worse would happen for Cavemanon and Snoot Game. That being the infamous Kotaku article. Made a few months later after the game was taken down from itch.io, this article would come out of nowhere, condemning the game and saying it was a harassment campaign against GBH. There would be other things in this article as well, like it being an alt-right-leaning fan game and that it has anti-LGBTQ messaging. But also, the most horrifying thing of all was, this fan game was made by people who were not true fans at all. Not to say the criticism isn't fair, it's just, out of all the stuff you put down that they're not true fans? Really? As you can tell, Co-op did not like the game existing. There would also be a response by Co-op to people who were talking about Snoot Game. The game you're probably referring to is a parody that wasn't made in good faith, so it or any discussion about it has no place in our server. Thank you for understanding.
Ah, what are you doing? That's cover!
The article would say that Snoot Game is part of the latest in the long string of targeted harassment that the studio has faced since 2020. Also in the article, it would reveal that Snoot Game was slowly getting more and more popular online. People on the official Co-op Discord server for GVH, as we looked a little bit earlier, would talk about it. As it was being talked about, slowly people who worked on GVH would know about it, and the team calling Snoot Game made not in good faith. Also, if there is any discussion about Snoot Game or anything around it in the server, you would be banned. After this, the article would claim that 4chan had been provoked into attacking Co-op, so they made their Discord private. The infamous 4chan had struck again by attacking developers for a game that they had done, that being Stolen Valor. Or did they? Okay, the Stolen Valor part is true, but what about everything else? Well, just like people blaming Co-op for taking the game down, you can't really say that it was 4chan themselves. In fact, the article doesn't show any evidence of this even happening.
I'm just gonna say, I don't think the game would be getting this level of harassment if the characters didn't look so stupid and if it didn't feel so out of place in like a PlayStation showcase, right? This game is clownable regardless of whether or not a character is non-binary or has a gay character in it. Like, this game is clownable either way. It's a very silly, derivative, uninspired, poorly written, poorly animated, poorly designed, poorly voice-acted game. Did some people get emboldened to criticize this game or harass the people involved with the game because of the LGBT aspect? 100%, I'm sure. I'm sure that happened. But to act as if that's why it's happening and not just because it looks like shit is just really dishonest and kind of annoying.
But that does not rule it out at all. Again, this is 4chan we're dealing with here. It's like saying water is wet, or a VR chat player faking an illness in the most embarrassing way possible. It just seems to be more likely to happen, but again, there is no evidence that I could find. But all of this would do one thing, something called the Streisand effect. Since all of this had happened, it gave the game a lot of attention. What's even worse about this is that the article shows and gives a link to an official dedicated fan art website created by Cavemanon. This is more than the Streisand effect here. This is like saying, oh no, don't come in here, but also wearing a sign that says, please come in. People would have never known about Snoot Game if this wasn't for this article, even if it was in a little bit of bad faith. The criticism is still valid, I will get to it, don't worry. After all of this, how is the game? Okay, this is gonna be a lot, so let me just breathe in a little bit. Our story begins with a transfer student named Anon, who is on his last legs due to something horrible in his last school. So he is sent to a new school called Valcano High. But not just any type of school, no. This is a school full of dinosaurs and some cavemen. But as he goes up the stairs to his new school, little does he know that he would find the love of his life. There is also two others, Reed and Trish, one who is the fan favorite, and the other is a love-hate relationship. We meet even more characters. Wacky hijinks happens at the school.
Good news, everyone!
But after them not liking each other at first, something happened. Anon and Fang start to get closer. Then a big event happens at school. All the students attend the assembly for this year's prom. Then something horrible, terrible, and downright disgusting would be revealed. Anon's disgusting weeb and made embarrassing photos of himself, hand-hovering anime women. Ooh, spooky. But after this, being hit in the head by a Coke can and falling a flight of stairs, Anon is hurt, broken even. So Fang takes Anon back to his apartment that is a terrible, awful place to live. But as they find love, will they make it work? Well, if you do your part, the game ends in 4 ways.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got myself into this situation.
Fang is depressed, and they are staying at Anon's apartment, and they're very emotionless about everything, until Anon reveals that their entire relationship was orchestrated and planned by the character named Naomi. Fang, let's say, has a bit of a crash out. Anon tries to explain things and calm Fang down. It does very little, with Fang attacking him and saying that Anon was a tool. The next day, Anon wakes up and he is surprisingly late for school. And it is in total chaos. Anon sneaks into the school. He sees a horrifying scene. Students lying dead in the hallway. It was very foggy that day. Anon can only see a silhouette, but he can tell it is Fang. He calls out to them. Then he gets shot. He's now on the floor. Fang is shocked that Anon is even here and that they just shot at him. As Anon slowly loses consciousness, he slowly crawls towards Fang, saying that he loves Fang, he really did. Fang gives Anon a weak smile before finally stepping back, falling from the roof, and then dying. This ending is very simple. Basically, you treat Fang like shit, you will get it. Simply, this ending is taken straight. There's no jokes. You think it would for it being an edgy joke at first, until you realize Carl from Aqua Teen Hunger Force was at the school at the time. But the game points at you saying it is all your fault and you basically killed people with your actions. Surprisingly, a well-written ending though.
I am non-binary! You don't even make a passable
Susan.
In this ending, you do a little bit more, but you still don't respect fully to Fang. just going with the motions, but still going through with it. Until Anon gets drunk at a party, he lets his true feelings out, and some words were said. Ooh, that's one way to say I do not like you. Fang pushes Anon into the water, and they walk off, crying. But as years go by, things that were in high school have not changed. Minus the part when Anon goes to the Navy and did not want to go there ever again. Anon has become a filthy, disgusting dweller stuck in his apartment, until he got the munchies and he finally leaves his chamber like a vampire. He decides to get the traditional American gamer meal. He waits for his order until he sees who's playing. It's his old flame, Fang. They have seen better days. In fact, they look like they were dead on the inside. But there is a chance that Anon could start over, and he gets his pizza and leaves. In this ending, everything seems to be very depressing. Even the world of it has gone gray and dark. But there still might be hope. But as it said, sometimes people don't change.
Women! I love women!
So after the first two endings, you might want to take things a bit differently. Something outside the box. Being nice to Fang. A Herculean effort, I know. You get to start to know more and more about Fang's character in Snoot Game. She's very, well, like a baby bird. No pun intended. This would be that they want to have control over their full life. Not being controlled by their father, family, teachers, or anyone else in their life. But these two endings are connected to one event and character in the game, and that event is the hand-hovering waifu part. But how did this get shown and who did it? Well, it was one of Fang's best friends, Trish the... She has gotten jealous with Anon, and she has done everything in her power to stop Anon. And now, their friendship with Trish is compromised after the events of the greatest anime betrayal of all time. But just like the last two endings, Anon has to go to the military. Then 3 years later, Anon is back, and he looks like he just stepped out of the Chad factory. He takes in the sights until he finally meets Fang once again. And let's just say that a lot of things have changed about Fang. Gone is the punk goth aesthetic and depression. Fang has gone full God-fearing Christian now, to Raptor Jesus. Anon suggests going back to their old high school. But as he suggests this, Fang has painful memories and says no. They then spend more time together, then they get married, and all's well that ends well. Or does it? The thing about this ending is this. Things may seem fine, my friend. However, it is the fine details that show the truth. Fang in this ending is not doing well, after Anon left to joining the military. Also, Anon in this is very uncaring, not fully like the other endings. Fang wants nothing to do with their older life. Fang has never seen or gotten in contact with their older friend group to this very day. Fang was all alone and was very sad, but had one thing to keep them going, to see Anon again. As you can see, all of that would be pure luck. And if Anon is sent back to the military, Fang would be stuck in the endless cycle of despair and depression.
Take that! Mega happy ending! Thank you, everyone! Thank you, Elmar! Boom!
Unlike all the other endings, if you play your cards right, you will be able to see the true ending of Snoot Game. Everything that leads up to ending 3 still happens, except for one little detail. This would be with Fang's brother, Nasser, if things play out correctly. Anon tells Nasser that they are in love with Fang, and Nasser is so shocked, he has a system reboot about all of this information. He gets Anon into his car, the NASCAR. Then Nasser drives at Mach 10 to Anon's apartment. After they reach the apartment, Nasser and Fang talk. The reason why they act like this, Fang blames themselves for why Nasser has a broken wing. Nasser fell off a cliff after Fang told him that they could fly. Fang has beat themselves up over this for years. They keep talking and they finally break the ice after all these years. Then it is prom night once again. But this time, everything goes a lot better. Trish is also there, but she is crying, and Anon goes over there to talk to her. They do have their talk, but they both know they care about Fang, and that is all that matters to them. So they squash the beef between the two, Fang rejoins the band, and all's well that ends well. After this, they have a beach party, but as this was happening, Fang and Anon would break up, so they both can pursue their education. Then another time skip happens, but with major changes, and things seem to be for the better. Anon has pursued into music. It seems a little bit of Fang has rubbed off onto Anon. Speaking of Fang, they would meet each other once again at their high school reunion. Anon meets his old friends again. They seem to be doing very well for themselves. Then, Fang and Anon, after feeling those old feelings once again, they decide to date once more. Then, just like in Ending 3, they get married in this one. They even have a weird dinosaur hybrid baby. However, unlike in Ending 3, where Fang would not live without Anon, they are instead fully independent and having full control of their life, and Anon finally got out of his 4-channel ways. It looks like he found the true meaning of life. The Snoot Game of life. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna even finish that. Now, regardless of where it came from, it is a good reason why people liked it, despite the 4chan stink. People would praise Snoot Game for its writing, lovable characters, original or rewritten, the art, and music. This anti-fan game, some would call it, would make a community that loved the game so much that the game it is parodying is considered worse than this. Speaking of GVH, Goodbye Volcano High would finally come out after all of the delays. Some people did play it, and most that did would say that it was to bad. Well, Cavemanon would play the game as well, and they would have some words about the game itself.
Go on, take the floor.
Yeah, I think I got something. Okay, so I'd like to speak a bit as the lead developer of Cavemanon a bit. This is something that a lot of people can tell, but getting any game from start to finish and sent out is a task in and of itself. It is, insofar as that goes, GVH releasing is a genuine good thing to happen. The developers set out to do something incredibly arduous, and they made it happen. This is not something that can be said for so many projects that just end up stalling or just getting put in the grave. So, insofar as that goes, they have succeeded. However, also as a lead dev, I have to say, what were they thinking? There wasn't a single part of this that I think was managed well in some way or another. I'm not going to pretend that I have things completely under control all the time, but there is at least a semblance of a vision that is shared between each of the guys. The music was decent, but the story is one of the most baffling things I've ever seen. The art direction and programming completely screwed up choices from the outset. You heard we were riffing off on the entire thing, the options that would be more interesting and impactful, things to create a story which is memorable. When you set out creating entertainment, what you're doing is you're making want to make something that's memorable. The worst thing you can do when you make entertainment is to make something that does not entertain. This doesn't mean go out and make something shocking, this means go out and make something meaningful. They failed to do that.
This is very surprising with how much the game's controversy was started by co-op. They really wanted this game to be good, but sadly to them, it was not. Also, one of the devs would punch a hole in their wall out of frustration.
Is that it? Or...
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, I have one. I have one very simple thing.
Okay.
That.
Oh, did you just punch a hole in your wall? What did you just do? What did
See,
you
that's
do?
what I think about Goodbye Volcano High. A complete negative 2, I guess, or 3. Evil Heart. It doesn't really matter. It just blows.
What did you do?
I punched a hole in the wall. That's all I did.
With Kate Gray gone, they needed to delay the game, as you already know. But since Kate was the main writer for the game, co-op needed someone or something to help them. So they hired Sweet Baby Inc. Now, I know that Sweet Baby Inc. is controversial in the gaming ecosystem. I'm not a political guy. However, I gotta get this off my chest. It doesn't matter whether the game had Sweet Baby ink or not. The simple of the matter is that the game is still poorly written, poorly made, and poorly everything. Not to say that Snoot Game is a masterpiece here. I mean, come on, look where it came from. But still, my point still stands. Well, I guess they follow their own wisdom in their own game with the words, "You are not the only person in the world." Very nice to see with all of this. It is good that this game has given them a different outlook on the world and in their life. Well, it's just too bad that they might have, let's just say, not fully followed their own advice. Just like any form of media or fandom, there is always a bit of controversy, inside of it and out. Also, as you can tell, Goodbye Volcano High would also have controversies as well, especially behind the scenes, specifically with its creator, and also, let's be honest here, the trailer. However, Snoot Game would be no different, and one of them would be most notable by critics. Okay, let's talk about the flying non-binary lizard in the room. Some of you may have noticed that I've been calling Fang they a lot. Well, this is notable because in GVH and in Snoot Game, Fang identifies as non-binary. And when GVH was shown, a lot of people had some gripes about that. Especially some 4chaners would have some gripes about it as well. And since Snoot Game is a game made by 4chaners, for 4chaners, you can see where this is going. In other news, the sky is going to be a nice blue for the rest of the week. If there is any criticism for the game, this has to be one of the biggest. Even that Kotaku article would talk about it as well. It would also not be the only one talking about the idea of Fang in Snoot Game going back to female in 2 of the endings. Some people who were in the LGBT community would claim that since some of the endings where Fang stays non-binary are all bad endings, Snoot Game was created in malice and is an awful transphobic parody game. Some people who like Snoot Game would claim that this was just a simple parody game. They would say since that was the case, it is not transphobic. They would say this may look like a parody created by 4chan, but there's something more here. It is about accepting on who you are and not just taking an identity or even a label. You don't need to change yourself to make others happy. Some people would also say the reason as to why some people are confused by this is the fact that, to be truly happy, Fang must no longer be non-binary. If you play the game and pay attention to the story, you will realize, and it is told to you, is that Fang was never non-binary. Fang was forcing that identity onto themselves by Trish to make themselves look good for the band. When Fang simply stops with the non-binary identity, they were taking back control with their life. Some did not like this answer, but some in the LGBT community surprisingly did. However, time would still move on from there. There would be some smaller controversies from here and there, but something else would pop up. On February 28, 2024, there will be a call-out post on Tumblr. Created by Wolf Nanaki and an ex-Cavemanon developer who worked on Snoot Game known as Spigot the Bear, they would call out Cavemanon for many things in this call-out post. They would say that during development, Cavemanon did not pay for the wages for many of the developers on the team. Then they would make another claim that the head of Cavemanon, known as Nerd, who is the main guy for all the ideas for Snoot Game, not fully, but he is the main person, they would say that he was openly anti-LGBT. They would also claim that Nerd would say that the anti-LGBT messages for Snoot Game was essential. But with the results of how popular Snoot Game has become, Nerd does get upset when people don't see it in that light. With the team reacting to comments on Snoot Game videos on their very own private Discord server. But the funniest out of all of them, to me, is sabotaging a mod for Snoot Game because they wanted to make one of the characters gay. Even though this is a fan game and anyone can do whatever they want with it, but...
Don't matter. None of this matters.
But this post would get a response from Cavemanon. And what did the creators of Snoot Game have to say about this? Well, they would refute many things, calling the post a hit piece, but also say that this is a document retort of a recent drop of a brain-dead e-drama documents that will totally pwn Cavemanon, Kotaku style. But also they would say that this is 99% a stupid Discord drama, and don't waste your time on this, go touch some grass. Literally, they also say this: instead of reading this travesty, go and do something nice with your family. Plant a garden, get a job, or any other task that is the opposite of what Wolf Naki does on a regular basis.
Coming to bed, honey?
Yes, dear.
But what if you want to keep reading? God have mercy on you. They would, like I said, refute many things, like Nerd being the sole owner of Cavemanon. They would say that it is actually owned by 3 people. One of them just so happens to be Nerd. Now, why was this an allegation? To be honest, I have no idea. That's what some of the Tumblr posts kinda is, stuff that really isn't that bad. Unless you count the stuff from their Discord, there's nothing here that is bad. But if you keep reading the response that Cavemanon has done, you will see a lot of things confirming the allegations of them being transphobic. Remember what I said about that quote from the game that said, "You are not the only person in the world"? Well, you can get rid of all of that because they really don't follow what they have said. Now keep in mind, I know this is a story and all, but you would think they would kind of follow their own philosophy in the game and also in real life. They would also respond to Wolf Nanaki saying some not nice things and also doxing them on their own Kiwi Farms page. But this page and this callout no longer exists. A user on Kiwi Farms would say that Wolf Nanaki's info was already public due to their Facebook. They just did not change it. Later on, however, Wolf Nanaki would get exposed for liking cub and zoo content. Yikes. Now, keep in mind, this is Kiwi Farms, so all of this you have to take with a grain of salt. They would also call a person named Nerija a fat fur lolcow. However, Cavemanon would say that Nerija was hitting on one of the staff members. Then he was kicked out of the team. This one's understandable looking into it more. They would also say that there was a truce with Nerija and Cavemanon, but broken after a while. Then they would respond to criticism of the game in a post with the title, "Snoot Game is le homophobic?" I think you know where this is going. One of the claim of them not liking the gays, most likely to be true to some degree. Why to some degree? Because if you can tell, them talking about Nerija, they're gay, and was on the Cavemanon team. There would be more stuff that they would prove and defend themselves with. But they also have a bias by not liking Wolf Nanaki. But also, Wolf Nanaki would also call them out for many things as well. Now I could talk about all the other stuff that they would respond to and have been accused of, but let's be honest here. All of this I am showing you is just to keep in mind when you think about playing the game. But all this stuff is literally just a he said, she said type of scenario. Some people have done bad things on one side, some people have done bad things on the other. Basically what I'm saying is, pick your poison. This is a contest, and the true winner is nobody at the end of the day, with evidence on both sides refuting each other. However, let's be honest here. All of this does not matter, because the true winner is not Cavemanon, it's not Co-op, Kate Gray, Nerd, or even the people who posted that call-out post on Tumblr. The true winner out of all of this is something that I have seen while doing research and looking at everything from the outside. Some of you might be wondering, who is it? Who is the true champion of this story? Well,
I'll show you.
when I started this, I have already heard about this game, its story, the history behind the development of both games, and the very loyal fan base. I have seen a lot of videos saying it is the best thing since the discovery of the dinosaurs themselves. However, while doing all this research, I have found one constant that keeps coming up back then during the days of 4chan to even now as we speak. There is one thing Snoot Game and Cavemanon's other game have in common. None other than...
There's so much porn! Counting the days, why am I bothering? Open my mouth and get another clobbering. Damn, it's harder than a lava enema. Sweating and panting like an overworked grandpa. And maybe I've been here too long. This kissing my sister so wrong. We might make a couple nitwits. We'll get a few mutants out of it. Down with the devil, down with the devil. Down with the devil, down with the devil. Down with the devil, down with the devil. Down with the devil, down with the devil.
Let me tell you when I say this. This is GVH and Snoot Game's true legacy. Nothing but endless sea of fans gooning to these characters. Now, I don't want to overgeneralize a group of people or say it's bad, but I'm just saying, if I'm going to look at Reddit, or the official site for art, I did not expect this. For one thing, the art is surprisingly well drawn. Again, surprisingly. Again, I don't want to bash anybody's interests. Hey, if you like it, more power to you. I'm just a random YouTuber who got lucky one time with one video. My opinions solely do not matter. Back to what I was saying though. Fans for Snoot Game have to be one of the most dedicated fans I have seen. Besides those.
If you use the pen thingy on Twilight, the madness will be transferred to you. What? Bye. Got to be. Oh god.
They have made many things around Snoot Game, like fanfiction, making OCs, music, even art, some of it funny, or that. And yes, even people in this fandom have been inspired to make their own fan games. In fact, there are so many fan games, you could call this a whole new visual novel genre of fan games called Snoot-likes. However, just like anything that has to do with dinosaurs, there is something strange about it and a lot of copy and pasting.
The fire's out of control, Colby. It looks like it's gonna spread to the school.
And look, there are a couple of boys trapped by the fire on that crane. Oh no, they're gonna get toasted.
I'll also be very honest with you about all of these games. There is a common trend with all of them. A bald human goes to a school or college. They are a student there now for some personal reasons. They are surprisingly the only human within a 500-mile radius for some strange reason. But most importantly of all, they see the love of their life. A dinosaur, or a shark, as you can see, we're breaking new ground here. As you can see, these entire events of how this game was made, Snoot Game and GVH are some of the most fascinating and interesting stories of game development I have seen online. Now, I know in this I didn't go too much into detail about Goodbye Volcano High, but some time has passed for GVH, and GVH would grow with a fan base of their very own, with also art and yes, even fan games. Look, if you think Snoot Game is problematic, that's fine. If you like Snoot Game more than GVH, that is okay as well. I'm not the arbiter of quality here, I'm just a YouTuber. But I will tell you what happened after all of this. This is a story of controversy, of stolen valor, goofs, gaffes even, and most importantly, love. As you can see, everything has a story, even if it's about people gooning to... don't get me started on that. Alright, show's over. Now let me go and show you our next exhibit, the actual real-life Ozymandias and his artifacts. The one artifact I'll show you over here is how he almost died from his Oh yeah, they knew what they were doing when they made that.